for Timmins James Bay.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je suis très fier d'être ici comme porte-parole pour la région de Timmins Bay James, dans le territoire des traités neufs. Je suis très désolé d'être ici ce matin. La découverte de les tombées cachées a choqué le Canada. Mais en réalité, pour les communautés autochtones, les communautés n'ont pas appris par ça. Parce que le traumatisme et chagrin qui existent dans les communautés et les résultats de les communautés reconnaissent les politiques systémiques de détruire les familles et les enfants autochtones du Canada. C'est une politique de génocide. On doit changer ça. Mass graves. It's a thing you think about when you hear of Iraq or Yugoslavia or the so-called bloodlands of Eastern Europe. But we have our mass graves here in Canada. The result of the war to destroy the Indigenous people. And it's not a historic grievance. The government always will tell you about historic wrongs. We're talking about the unbroken line that goes on to today. I think, coming from a Catholic faith that I grew up in, the fact that these children were buried without dignity, without names, they are not statistics. They were children. They were loved. They deserve better from this country. I think of John Keoki, age 14, never came home. His family still asks me, where's our uncle? Where is he? Michelle Mattinus, age 12, he never came home. Michelle Sutherland, age 12. The Oblates, who ran Kamloops Residential School, also ran St. Anne's Residential School. And they told the RCMP, the boys went missing. The people know better. They know they're buried out there. I think of Charlie Hunter, age 13. The church wouldn't send his body home. The government wouldn't send his body home. 37 years. His beautiful family struggled to get Charlie home. And the Canadian people, in 1 week, raised the money necessary to get Charlie home. And it was a beautiful thing. That's what we're calling on. We have to bring the children home. Kanina Sioux Turtle, age 15. Amy Owen, age 13. Courtney Scott from Fort Albany, age 16. Tammy Kiesh, age 17. Died in the broken, underfunded child welfare system. Jolyn Winters, age 12. Chantel Fox, age 12. This government was found culpable in their deaths at the Human Rights Tribunal for refusing to fund Jordan's principal. We're not talking about technical matters. We're talking about the lives of children. These children have died under the watch of this government, and children have died for year after year. We lose a child every 3 days across this country to the broken welfare system. They die on a Monday, they die on a Wednesday, they die on a Saturday, and nobody at the provincial levels or the federal levels notice or give a damn. But the families notice. It's the unbroken line in this war that takes us from the bodies at Kamloops Residential School to the children who are being taken from their homes today and disappeared into the gulag of hopelessness. You really have to talk to people who've been through this system that exists today. It will show you just how horrific this system is. So when we're talking about systemic discrimination, we're talking about systemic underfunding, we're talking about the destruction of Indigenous families, there's nothing theoretical. This is lived in the lifeblood of families. So we're here today to say we have to stop the talk and start walking the walk. So we're asking for a couple of key things. The Minister of Crown and Indigenous Affairs has led a toxic legal war against the survivors of St. Anne's Residential School. She has spent over $3 million fighting survivors who couldn't even pay their own bus fare to come down to the hearings. And what are these hearings about? They were about the fact that government lawyers suppressed the evidence of the torture and the rape and the killing of the children at St. Anne's Residential School. And the government does not want to give these survivors justice. So let's give you a few other names. Father Jules Laguerriere. He is being defended by this government because when the government was supposed to give over the legal documents about the crimes of Father Laguerriere, they presented a one-page person of interest reports, and that went to the hearings, and people's cases were thrown out. And we know the Justice Department lawyers were sitting on a person of interest report that was 3,191 pages long, and they suppressed that evidence. The Minister of Crown and Indigenous Services needs to explain why she's defending the legacy of Father Laguerriere and not standing up for survivors like Marie Sakani or Edmund Matatawaban. Father Arthur Lavoie, a notorious criminal pedophile. The government supplied the court hearings a person of interest report that was 2 pages long, suppressing all the dirt and evil that man did when they sat on a document that was 2,472 pages long of police evidence, of witness testimony, and I thank the OPP for the incredible work that they did identifying these perpetrators. And that minister is defending him today. And Sister Anna Wesley, her person of interest report, they suppressed 6,804 pages long. I encourage people to read that minister latest request for directions, the RFD she brought to court, fighting the St. Anne survivors. In it, she accuses Murray Sinclair, who led the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, of making her look bad. Literally, because Murray Sinclair raised the concerns about how the government suppressed evidence and had the St. Anne's cases thrown out. And she says, through her lawyers, that because Murray Sinclair told the public what was going on, he quote, eroded public trust. And she says he harmed survivors. She has no business being here. She has to leave that seat. She has lied to the people of Canada. It cannot go on. And then let's talk about the court case with Cindy Blackstock. 19 non-compliance orders. This could have been settled a long time ago when the hearings came down. The Human Rights Tribunal finally put the maximum fine for compensation because they saw and they put in their findings that this government showed a willful and reckless disregard for the lives of the children, that the government would not negotiate, the government would not find a solution. They said that this was the worst case scenario that they had seen. 19 rulings against this government. And the Minister of Indigenous Affairs has said it would be, quote, intellectually lazy for him to end the court case. I'm amazed at that word, intellectually lazy. Is that the kind of lazy that happened when poor Devin Freeman ran away from his group home outside of Hamilton and hung from a tree for 6 months right across the road and nobody went to find him? Nobody went to find this boy. That is kind of systemic laziness, but yet the minister says he would be lazy if he ended the systemic discrimination, the willful and reckless worst case scenario denial of basic rights. This is not historic discrimination, my friends. This is ongoing willful attacks. Canada has recognized that it is not the innocent nation it thought it was. Canada has recognized that we have to do right, that this is a moment. And it is up to this government to show that they're willing to do right. It's been 3 years since this House called on the Catholic Church to join us in the path of reconciliation. They are still refusing. They're still refusing to turn over the documents. They are still refusing to pay the money that they're supposed to. And the Pope is still not complying with the call to apologize because of the Catholic bishops in this country who are blocking them. So we know that the Catholic Church right now is not playing their part in dealing with these crimes. But our role in this House is to say to this federal government, they and Canada were complicit in the crimes. It has to end. We are calling on this Prime Minister to end the legal battle against the children, to respect the ruling of the Human Rights Tribunal that this is not optional. Being found guilty of systemic discrimination is not something you opt in or out of. It is a finding in a rule that the government must respond to. And we are calling on that Minister of Crown Services to stop her toxic war with the survivors of St. Anne's. She has never, ever called the survivors. She has never offered to sit down. They don't want big money. They want justice. They want her to admit that a wrong was done, and we need to end the toxic legal wars. We have to do it for the 215 children, for all the children that we are losing every third day in this country. Thank you.